Welcome to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. Are you evaluating your career in real estate? Feel like you're ready for a fresh start? Or ready to take your career to the next level? This is your podcast. Welcome to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. This is season 6, Discovering Your Superpower. And I am back with my co-host, Alicia Soikawa.
Hello.
So today we're going to talk about something that is, I think, kind of like a trendy buzzword. It actually has real meaning and value. We're going to talk about this, but we're going to talk about what it is and what it isn't. And that word is accountability. We hear it all the time. We hear it in coaching a lot, and we use it actually as coaches, accountability, the word and the concept. But the reason we wanted to talk about it today is I think that sometimes people misconstrue what accountability means and perhaps their role in the accountability process. So, Alicia, this was actually kind of your idea. So why don't you tell the audience what came to mind when you were like, oh, we should talk about accountability?
I think accountability is something that I hear a lot of why people want to join coaching, Tom Ferry coaching, or any coaching, going to the gym, or even join our brokerage as an agent. They say, oh, I really need accountability. And I think what people are saying actually is they want someone to do it for them.
Yes.
I'm not going to say that again. They want people to do it for them. And I think there is a misunderstanding of what the word accountability means.
Mm-hmm.
Accountability is you are accountable for yourself. Nobody can be accountable. No one can be accountable for me. I can only be accountable for what I do myself, my behavior, my actions, my results. It's mine. It's mine to own. No one else is to take. I can't transfer that to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that thinks that they can do that, I think that's where we're having a skewed issue, where that whole conversation of entitlement comes in, how no one wants to work anymore because the accountability is gone, because no one takes their own pride and accountability for themselves. So people join coaching thinking, oh, if I just pay this money a month, that my business is going to magically show up and everything's going to be set up. They're going to tell me what to plug in and I'm going to make all this money. There's that misconception of that. Just like, oh, if I just join the gym membership, then I'm going to be fit.
Right.
No, you kind of have to go every day and do the work and not stuff your face. So,
Right. I always say it's like going to the doctor and the doctor's like, take this prescription and you're cured or whatever. And you go home and you don't take the prescription. Like, that's on you. And you go back and you're like, it didn't work.
Or you take it the way you want to take it. You miss the last 6 doses, or if it says take 3 times a day after a meal and you take it once a day in the morning when you want to take it and you're wondering,
because your tummy hurts a little bit.
It's your fault.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's your fault. And so that's, we as human beings, it's so natural to get frustrated and to blame because no one wants to take accountability again. So people are misusing that word. And I think it's so important because in real estate, like any other sales where it's commission-based, is you have to want it for yourself more than anybody else wants it for you.
Yes.
And what I'm finding is that people are joining brokerages, teams, mega teams, coaching, and I inherit some of these coaching clients myself. Not all. I have some incredible coaching clients I've had for years where all of a sudden they come in, they get all hyped up, they're ready to do it, they're pumped up, they're excited, they're taking notes, and then we get on the next call and they're like, yeah, I didn't get it done.
All right. So let me ask you, if I come to you as your client and I've come to you and I've said, Alicia, I need like the highest possible level of accountability. First of all, what do you say to me?
I say that's exciting, but what does that look like for you?
Okay.
Because I'm all about that.
Okay.
So when I say when someone says to me, I need the highest accountability, I'm going to say, well, what is the biggest pain for you? What would be the biggest consequence for you?
Okay. And then you give me homework and I come back and I'm like, oh man, all this stuff blew up and my business got really busy and my cat died and all these things happened. I didn't get it done. So I'm like, I know that you're going to hold me accountable, I think, but what does that look like on your end?
So if that was you and we'd already had a mutual conversation about, I need the highest level of accountability I could give you, is that going to be like, this is done out of love and confrontation because you've given me permission. You are now going to go do it right now. I'm going to end this call and we're not taking a call. I'm going to keep charging you for your call until
Ooh,
that work is
that is
done.
a high level of accountability. Okay. Okay. I love that.
Don't come back until it's done because I will bill you again.
Right.
That's the accountability I could give you.
That's the highest level.
And I
Yeah.
would take notes so that you couldn't go back to Tom Ferry and say, my code, it's all recorded.
Yeah,
So,
right, right. Because you asked for that accountability. There's a lot of, I think another kind of like a buzzy thing is accountability partners. And we hear about that a lot in teams, especially in real estate, when, there's a training that's happening or somebody's working on a new skill or like role play or whatever. Be my accountability partner. What's your feeling on accountability partnerships?
I think that they can be very powerful. If it's done again with intention, like the last episode we talked about, what is your intention? What is the result? So if
Mm-hmm.
both parties want the same result and they are aligned and their intentions are the same, it can become a very powerful partnership.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If it's two people just shooting the shit and with nothing going on, you just have a friendship.
Yes, right.
Okay. And that's beautiful if that's what they want, but
Sure.
that's not accountability.
Right.
So I think it's about intention of what is exactly going on. Is this accountability or is this not? Because at some point it's going to fizzle off and turn into one person resenting, blame, the other person feeling
Yeah.
awkward, and
Yeah.
then neither one shows up.
Yeah, okay. So, and this is exactly what I was just going to ask you because I hear this story over and over again where someone has an accountability partner and
Mhm.
one of the two either just isn't doing the work or starts to just like flake out and not show up at all or
Mhm.
tries to kind of like distract or sidetrack the conversation usually in the more accountable partners one's eyes because they just didn't do it or they don't really feel like focusing on it. What did we do then, do you think?
So I think in that situation, it's the person that feels that that's happening, recognizes it, have enough awareness to go, this is going off the rails. This is not what
Mhm.
was intended. Or that person is not behaving in what we agreed upon when we started,
Mhm.
and having the necessary conversation and saying, listen, we got together to do this. You're not doing your part. So are we moving forward or are we separating?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is wasting everyone's time.
Great. Okay. So that takes me to a whole other thought, which is like when we have a team. So, as a new agent, you might do that like accountability partnership thing, but I
Mhm.
think be accountable to yourself and
Mhm.
respect your own time. And if you have a partner who really seemed enthused and was going to be your best accountability buddy and is not holding up their end, nip that in the bud very quickly. Maybe do
Correct.
like a confrontation, like Alicia said, and ask first, what level of accountability do you want? What does that look like to you? And then if they're not holding up their end of the bargain, go, no matter how much you like the person, be like, I'll still be your friend, we get lunch, but this is not how we should be spending our time because we are building our businesses. Now, let's say you already own the business or you run a team and you have people in place who you are relying on to do certain tasks or to, maybe it's an ISA, an inside sales agent who's making a certain number of calls for you, or you're trying
Mhm.
to, you've got a KPI, a key performance indicator set for a certain number of conversations or appointments, and that's not happening. How do you, as a business owner or team leader, hold those people accountable?
I think that starts with how, when they came into the situation, how they were trained and onboarded to begin with. So again, it's the intention you set. What is the end result? So if you have KPIs and you're already tracking and measuring, that's not weird to your employee, your person inside sales, your admin, whoever this may be, that you're tracking and measuring. If you're just tracking and measuring to track and measure and you're not using those tools to grow and scale,
Yeah.
then that's on you as a leader.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, though, no employee, no worker is going to jump up and say, "Ooh, I didn't do that right." Like just like a child's not going to parent themselves,
Yeah.
right? Because that they
Right.
don't care. They're just there to get their paycheck and go home.
Yeah.
And it's again about having the necessary conversation and saying, "Remember when we set these rules and this is the KPI? Well, you didn't meet your KPIs." So
Hmm.
there's a reason to track and measure. It's for optics. And what the optics are showing me is that you're not being an A player.
Hmm.
So our deal is that we only have A players on our team. So are you having an issue? Do you need to be trained up on something? Do you have a misunderstanding? So I think first is the conversation.
Hmm.
So verbal warning and conversation. The second would be being written up saying this is your second warning. And the third time is we're just not a fit.
Yeah. And I think what you said about making sure that the person is onboarded and trained in the first place is so important because people can't perform to a standard that they don't know exists. So
That's
if you're
not
not
fair. That's
setting that
not being kind. That's not being clear
exactly,
and kind. That's being
exactly.
like impossible. Nobody can measure that up.
Right, exactly, exactly. So we do have to have our standards and our objectives very clearly articulated for people who are working with us and for us and who are relying on to do some of the work that drives our business.
Yes.
I'm reading a book now called Why Motivating People Doesn't Work and What Does. I'll have to look up who the author is so I can share it with
Mhm.
everybody. But one of the things that she says, and this just reminded me when you were talking through, is when you have the whatever the indicators, performance indicators are very clearly articulated and in written form, ideally, so the person knows what they're shooting for. When you
Mhm.
view somebody, when you bring them in, you ask them, so how closely do you think you got to your target? And what how do you think you could have improved or what would you do
Yep.
differently next time?
Yep.
And then ask them to self-reflect. It's very telling in the way that they're able to either articulate what it was that and usually they know, like if they missed the target, they know, and then it makes the
They
conversation
know.
much easier. And
Yeah.
then you can say, out of love and also protection for my business, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to have to put you on a performance plan. We're going to give you 30 days to improve whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or on the flip side, if they're killing it, then you've got a reason to bonus them.
Correct.
And they're looking in the mirror and celebrating what they did themselves and are much more likely to repeat the exceptional
Absolutely.
performance the next time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one way that accountability can look, I think. How else do you use accountability in your business or life?
I think accountability is more about being the person I want to be.
Oh, tell me more about that. That's interesting.
So if I say that I want to be like the best mom, or I want to be a loving wife, or I want to be a inspired coach and leader, or I want to be the best client service for I want to touch my clients and celebrate them. Then what do I need to do today to make that happen?
Mm,
Right. So if I know that I have to meditate and I know that I have to eat well and I know I need to work out so that I can be the best version of myself, then that is going to pull me to get up to do the things that may me not want to do because who I need to be for those things that I want. It's like, again, it's focusing on that end result of who I am versus, oh, I got to go do this and I got to go do that. Does that make sense?
it does. And you have some really strong habits. I know your morning routine in particular is really, really on point. And one of the things that you do every day as part of your morning routine is you read 10 pages of
Yes.
whatever it is that you're reading. You also journal, you do a lot of other things too. But how did you originally get started with that? And how do you keep holding yourself accountable to doing those things, even when you don't feel like it, that you know is going to get you the result you want?
I think it comes to the fact that I've had spurts, of course, where I didn't do it if I was sick or like a really early travel day. Like if I have to be on a plane at 6 in the morning, I'm not gonna meditate and read, do all my stuff. I'm not gonna get up at 3 to do that.
Yeah.
Typically I'll do that on the plane. So I
Yeah.
think number one, being flexible to your schedule and understanding, like sometimes I might work out in between a client. Like I know I have an hour break. So then I may go do a workout and then in that hour period or read at that time and understanding some things can be moved as needed because certain things
Mhm.
are going to need shifting, right? Your
Yes.
child's up sick or you have to switch off or doctor's appointments or something's happening, right? Um, but it doesn't mean it doesn't get done. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And so I think it's a difference between an excuse of not doing it versus on how do you make your life flexible to make the things you need to get done?
Yeah. Yeah. So what I wrote down when you were saying that is accountability is not rigidity.
No.
There has to be flexibility in there, and it makes it much more easy to accomplish if
Yes,
you
it's
allow yourself
yes,
to have
yes,
some play.
yes. It's not meant to be a prison where you feel trapped to this way of life and you're like, this is not what I wanted.
Mhm.
It's what accountability does for me is it makes me the best version of me.
Yeah.
So, because it's that concept of you versus you.
Yeah.
So, you versus you is you showing up better every single day, right? Is
Right.
it 1% better every day? that's your accountability.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
1% better every day, it's like do one more push-up, do one more lap, do call one more client, show up better for, do one little extra thing for your client. Maybe,
Yes.
do a little note for your child or tell them you love them or call your mom. That's 1% better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
You're
All of
building
that's
the muscle.
accountability. It's
Yeah.
who you are. And so if
Yeah.
you're an accountable person, that's how you show up in all areas of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it goes back to who are you? So that's why when people show up and they say, I need you to make me accountable,
Mm-hmm.
that's never gonna work because you got to be accountable for yourself. I can be by your side to cheer you on, but you got to tell me what you need. You got to tell me what you're gonna do to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I can shine the mirror and be like, bro, you didn't do it. Or
Mm-hmm.
what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
you got to question if you're constantly escaping your life and escaping your own accountability, is that really what you want?
Yeah, which leads me to another question I'm interested in your thoughts on, which is what if you are a person listening right now and you're like, this is why I got out of corporate America, or this is why I'm self-employed, because I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it and set my own guidelines, whatever I want to do it,
Yeah,
accountability, want nothing to do with that. What do you say to those people?
I think that's great. I feel like I do what I want, but this is what I want.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
This
So
is
there
what
are
I
certain
want.
things you need to do to get there. Yeah, yeah.
So if you really want freedom, if you really want, what does freedom mean?
Right.
Does freedom mean you only work 6 months out of the year? Then you better fucking bust your ass for 6 months of the year so that you can be off 6 months.
Right.
Right? There's no such thing as like scratching a ticket and winning the lottery. You kind of have to buy the ticket even.
Yes, right.
Right?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
these people like, it's interesting. There's you even still have to buy the ticket. You're gonna win the lottery if you didn't buy the ticket. Like
yeah.
it's about that. It's about like you can't, there's no such thing as a free lunch or a free ride. And that's the truth because every time you see something that looks like it's materialized so beautifully for someone, there's something that takes place for it to happen. Even manifestation, like there's a conscious intention of even being open and attention to the opportunity that's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then if it's there, are you going to take it? That's
Mm-hmm.
the intention.
Right.
What are you going to
Right.
do with it when you have that opportunity? It's not that you lay without motion and just think that things are going to, that's stagnant. That's
Mhm.
like, what do you call it? That's like dying. That's
Right,
stagnant.
right. You're not growing, you're dying. Yep. Yep.
I think what people mean by corporate is that they don't want that thumb on their neck pressed on
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
where if you don't do this, then you don't get that.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's really what corporate is. If you don't do
Yes.
this, then you don't get that.
Yeah.
When you work for
I love
yourself,
it.
is if you do this, you get whatever you want.
Oh, I love
That's the
that.
difference,
Yes. There's the mic drop. Yes.
right? If you do this, if you're willing to show up for yourself consistently day in and day out, doing the things you say you want, the world is your oyster to do whatever you want to do.
Yes.
To take your family on vacation, to buy the sports car you want, to get the vacation house you want, to donate and build the schools you want, to do your hobby, to get, because it opens up so many, to meet the people you want to meet, to go have lunch with your wife at 2 in the afternoon if you want, because you don't have to be at some meeting with Mr. Joe because he said you have to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's almost accountability to, again, that purpose that you're creating for yourself. And that purpose can shift from time to time. But I think the focus is what has to stay intact to create, the traction that accountability and only really accountability can lead you to. What else does accountability mean to you? Is there anything else that we haven't covered yet?
I think, yeah, I think accountability means love for myself
Hmm.
because in the name of accountability, I'm showing up and I'm honoring myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not betraying myself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like an integrity in it.
It absolutely is because
Yeah.
that's who I am.
Yeah. Right. And that's
So
what
it's,
people see. I mean, that's the
yeah.
other thing is there's that saying, what you practice in private, you get rewarded for in public.
Oh,
So what you're doing in being accountable to yourself
mhm.
is evident in every interaction that you have with every other human being, and therefore builds a trust that's just emanating from the person that you are.
It does. And I think people don't understand that until they're in it.
Right.
So I'm always like, do what you say you're going to do, always.
Yeah.
Even if you don't feel like it, you said you were going to do it. Then don't say you're going to do it.
Right.
Like, don't say that. Like, remember,
Right.
like my husband's like, Michael goes, oh God, I can't promise the kids nothing because they won't remember. Like you can't, it's like thinking about when you make your kid a promise, I'm going to take you here. And you
Yes.
don't,
Oh,
you,
yeah.
and the more you don't do it, you're lying to yourself. So every time you don't work out, every time you don't make the calls, you betrayed yourself and who you are.
You're reminding me that we promised Marissa that we're going to get her tickets to the Zach Bryan concert, and we haven't done it yet. And we're accountable to ourselves and her. And she reminds us every day, every chance she gets. She's like, "Did you get the tickets? Did you get the tickets?
Mhm.
They're going to sell out. They're going to sell out. You got to get the tickets." So yeah, yeah, I know that feeling very well. So
That's
what
what it
is
is.
it? What was that?
That's what it is, right? Like,
Uh,
think about it. If you write in your little calendar, I'm going to work out, and you don't, a
Yeah.
little piece of you betrayed yourself.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question is what is it that you think helps create the greatest ability to hold ourselves accountable? I know it's focused on purpose, but do you think writing it out, telling somebody else, what's like are there keys or is it different for everybody?
You know what? There, it's different for everything. I think Jay Shetty did a podcast about this recently, and I loved it. I think that's why certain accountability apps work really well. Is there's a human wiring that we're made to. We get a boost of serotonin. They did studies
Hmm.
of a happy feeling, the happy drug, when you
Yeah.
give yourself remember like when you were a kid and you get a sticker for doing something?
Oh
Before there,
yeah.
when you get potty train the kids, you get to put a sticker on there and the
Yes.
scratch and smell stickers and remember
Yes.
all the check marks. There is a psychological boost in our bodies of who we are as human beings that if we get a little sticker or something, that
Hmm.
makes you feel good. So
Okay.
that's why the Peloton's so great because you get a sticker for every day you work out.
The
And this is
badges.
how
Yeah.
many badges you get and how many days in a row and how you're doing
Yeah.
that type of accountability. It's you doing the work, you're accountable, but they're
Right.
basically rewarding you with that system.
Yeah.
It is a married thing that's been proven to help people stay accountable long term.
Okay. Interesting. So a little bit
So
of
that's why,
dopamine.
like on a calendar, maybe doing a check mark or doing an X or a countdown, or
Okay.
like every time you saved money and you didn't spend it, giving yourself a sticker of $1. Every time you
Mhm.
didn't go to Starbucks and you're trying to save money, do you know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Like putting a
Yeah.
little coin, like the no curse jar coin, like
Right.
the remember the bank that you save for your vacation. All that is little stickers,
Mhm. Mhm.
psychological stickers.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I think that can help people. That's why getting your goals up and in front of you. Tom Ferry's a real big advocate of that. How many
Yes.
houses do you want to go? How many listing appointments? 1 out of 100, 2 out of 100. You see, it's a sticker.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
that's a way to keep, I'm getting closer. I'm hitting
Yep.
my goal. I'm measuring myself. I'm progressing. And when
Yes.
we're progressing as human beings, we feel progress. We feel better. That's why we
Yep.
weigh ourselves every day. I've lost a pound. I've
Mhm.
only eaten 5 calories. I've only eaten, whatever you're measuring, the tracking and measuring actually can be used to encourage us, support
Yeah.
us, and move us along,
Yeah.
not be a jail to us.
Yes. Okay. And then I think my last question before we wrap up on accountability is, unless there's anything else you want to talk about or ask about this, is let's say that somebody has an enormous goal, right? So just because
Okay.
you talked about goals and you were like reading my mind, this is
Yes.
exactly where I
Yes.
was going with this. They have a goal that is giant for themselves. And or maybe somebody else has helped them set that
Yeah.
goal. What do you recommend? And they're holding themselves accountable to this esoteric huge goal. What's the best way for them to start with accountability to work toward that goal? Is it I have to get that goal, but they don't really know how to do it, or what's the next thing?
I think it's the whole concept of you can't get obsessed with the how because our minds will talk us out of the goal if we do that.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give you
Okay.
the example.
Interesting.
I didn't even know there's so many things I didn't know existed in this. I didn't in my plan, I never thought about being a coach.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what coaching was.
Right.
Michael's the one that found Tom Ferry. It's a whole nother podcast. But
Oh, really?
so I got into coaching. It was before they did it through Zoom, and I had a coach, and went through the whole. I didn't even think that I would ever be qualified to be a coach ever and ever.
Mhm.
And my coach was the one that was like, "You'd be great. You should go. I'm going to put your name in. You should." And I was like, "What is this? Like, how would you even?" And I just stopped worrying about it. And I just did what was next and what was next. So what's the next step?
Mhm.
And what's the next step? And what's the next step? And what's the next step? And then what do I need to do now? And then when the opportunity came for me that I was offered the position, it actually went away because COVID hit and then they put a pause and then came back. It came back to us.
Mm.
And so when it came back to us, my business was so busy. It was right at the end of 2020, like middle of 2020, when things were ramping up and going crazy.
Yeah.
And I went to Michael and I was like, I want to do this, but I don't know how I'm going to fit this in because it's just so busy. Where is this going to
Mm.
fit? And he said
Right.
to me, if you don't try, you will always regret not doing it.
Mm.
So sometimes it's not about knowing how and not understanding that every step has to go this way.
Mhm.
Sometimes you might have to go up and then maybe you have to go back down and go the other way, the other set of staircase. But it's a learning process the whole way to get to this eventually,
Mm.
right? Like if you know, like, and sometimes you'll like, let's just say like you wanted to fly somewhere and go somewhere when you're driving there and you realize that this is stupid. Let's go back and take an airplane, right? That would be a perfect example. Like, let's pay someone, we'll take the airplane. Like, it could be even that. Does that make sense? We need to hire help. We learned this, but let's scratch that. Let's go this way.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
You know,
I think that's some of that. It's like, but if you get so fixated on how and you're planning and plotting and this is what we're going to do and having like groups and sessions and you'll never take that step.
mhm.
Ever.
Yeah. What you just said made me think about something else that I think accountability could be, which is the ability to reflect. And I
Yes.
think that's was, and you used that analogy before, holding up the mirror to someone else. I think if I had to like drill down on accountability, it's not cracking the whip over somebody. It's not saying you must do this. And, if you don't, then I'm going to do this to you or whatever. Or you're not good at, not true to your word or whatever it is. It's like, what is the lesson in that sometimes?
Mhm.
Like, what
That you
is
learn.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what is it that kept you from doing that thing? What does that tell you about yourself or something that needs to be adjusted or something you might need support with? And how does this help us grow? I think that if I have to think now about what accountability is, it's an opportunity for growth. And I think that's
Absolutely.
where
Everything is an opportunity for growth,
yeah, yeah. But I think accountability,
especially that.
yeah, because
Yes.
again, and when you're doing it with someone who is like someone who cares about you and is invested in you, like a coach is, they also have an ability to see you from a different perspective than you can see yourself and the
It's
situation
optics.
from a perspective. Yes.
It's going
And
back to optics. Everything is about optics because
yeah.
if you can't see the hole, you're gonna fall in the hole. I'm in the hole.
Get me
You gotta
out.
go a different path.
Right.
Keep
And we're
falling
sitting there
down the
going,
same hole.
the hole's right there.
And you're like,
You go.
don't go in the hole as a coach. They're going
Yes.
back in the hole.
Sometimes they gotta fall in the hole.
But that's the truth.
Yeah.
So that's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes you
Yeah.
just need someone to sound it out and be like, yeah, that's stupid. I'm not going to go that way.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And to
That's
kind of show the
just such a good topic though, right?
yeah, it is. Yeah. All right. So that's us on accountability. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys who listened. And I hopefully you'll have a little bit of a clear understanding of what accountability is, what it means, what it can do for you, whether you hold yourself accountable, which you should, whether someone else is helping you be accountable and holding up a mirror to you, which I think is the place that when you get there and you're able to let someone else see you in a way that maybe you can't see yourself yet, um, that's where magic can start to happen. I'll share one more little thing before we wrap. I was on a mastermind earlier today with my coaching group cohort, as we call ourselves, and one of the members shared a story about when he was early on in coaching, and he is now a very high level luxury agent in a very Tony area of California. And but he was known when he started as the low price guy in this area. And that's how he saw himself. Well, I'm the low price guy. He's like, I want to be a luxury agent, but I'm the low price guy. So he got into coaching with a coach who said to him, and so he had never sold a house over $1 million. And this is an area that like million was like low end average price range.
Yeah.
And it's much, much higher than that now. His average price point was like 250 or three, like, I mean,
Yeah.
really low end and relatively speaking. And his coach said to him, next year, you're going to sell 13 properties above $1 million. And he was like, how. And he was like, it's not up to you to figure out how. It's up to you to believe that you're going to do it and to start to identify yourself with the person who will do that. So what are the things that a person who would sell 13 homes above $1 million would be doing right now? And then he was like, well, I guess I'd go start prospecting in $1 million areas. And he's like, there's a good idea. And then he's like, what else could you do? And he's like, well, maybe I'd go start to play golf, like in the golf course that some of those people play golf at. He's like, that's a fantastic idea. So then he's starting to come up with ideas. So he didn't sell $13 million properties that first year. He sold 8, but it was much better than what he had done. The next year he sold 32. And he has never looked back. And now he is a coach for luxury agents who want to be in the luxury market with Tom Ferry. So kind of a cool story about what he did. And what he did was the coach just helped him figure out the steps that he could be accountable to and that were manageable for him to get to this vision, and then to help him believe in himself, to see himself for something that he wasn't yet, but was destined to be. So
I love that, because that's exactly anything that you want in this world.
Yep.
Anything you want, you can have anything you want.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. This was awesome. Accountability is in the bag. And next time, well, we don't know what we're going to be talking about next time, but we have a lot of ideas.
You better tune in though, because it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. But if you have ideas and you're listening and you'd like to give us some ideas, we're open to talking about anything that's interesting to you. We know the market landscape is changing every day, and sometimes by the moment, it seems. So reach out to us with things that you're curious about, anything that you're struggling with, ideas that you have. We'd love to hear from you. We'll give you a shout out on the show if you reach out to us via social media or as a comment on our podcast. This has been So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
We are so grateful you have joined us today. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe to our show or share it with people that you think would benefit. And please remember to leave us a review or rating on the platform on which you are listening.
And if you've got questions about Tom Ferry coaching, have the both of us here, please contact us directly. We would love to answer your questions. Or if you're just curious, we'd love to have a conversation. You can reach us at any of our social media outlets or shoot us a direct message.